welcome to the Speakeasy Show. We've got a great show for you today. We're a cannabis platform, and we're going to teach you all about the cannabis community. We've got some great guests today. We've got Boo Williams, former NFL player, 7-year veteran, and cannabis activist. We've also got Bobby Black, High Times editor, former High Times editor, and now the host of Blazing with Bobby Black. And also, of course, the Cartoon Cowboys.
Everybody, welcome to the very first episode of Speakeasy, the live show. We are the most fantastic people in cannabis that you're ever going to meet. One, Mr. Chris Glue, the #1 cannabis attorney in the entire California state area. He practices in Los Angeles, but if you're anywhere in California, this is the man you need for help, and an expert on the cannabis industry.
I accept all that. Guilty as charged.
You should, because
Guilty.
you've earned every single bit of it. I am your co-host, cannabis comedian. I host more events in the cannabis industry than anybody in the entire world. I am Medicinal Mike, and I'm happy to be here and a part of Speakeasy.
I'll tell you what, Mike, I'm really excited. I know it's our first show, but we got 2 great guests to introduce today, and they're just perfect for our first episode. A former NFL veteran here, Boo Williams. He played 7 years with the New Orleans Saints, and man, this guy's got a great story. I can't wait to get started with him.
Well,
I think we should bring him in.
Let's get started with him. Everybody, a big round of applause. Let's welcome to the show, New Orleans Saint, Boo Williams, also cannabis advocate. Welcome, Boo. How's it going, brother?
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
You look fantastic. You are a beautiful man, Boo.
Thank you, man.
Tell me this is not a beautiful man.
That is a beautiful man, but I think it's something you guys want to talk about after the show. His beauty.
Yeah.
There's nobody that does not agree with me. Boo, you have always been obviously a cannabis advocate, but now you've actually come out into public and you are speaking for, hundreds of thousands of people in professional athleticism that don't have the courage that you're exemplaring right now. Why is it that you're out here doing? Why have you decided to become a voice?
It's because of the things that I went through in my life. In 2011, I found myself on the railroad tracks, trying to, end my life.
Like literally on a railroad tracks.
Yeah, literally on the railroad tracks in 2011 because I was trying to find myself. I had no type of no vision. I had no type of no guidance, and I didn't know who I was outside of my shoulder pads and my helmet.
Why is it that a lot of the NFL players are suffering such depression rates and the suicide rate is so high? Most people, when you view an NFL player, you think, this is where I want to be with my entire life, and I'd be so gifted to get there. But you find out that a lot of the men that are there have a lot of mental stresses.
Yeah, the stresses that we're put up to every day, the normal person, they really couldn't handle because you have to be at the top of your game every single day. You have to have high intensity every single day for long periods of time. And if you don't, then that person that's 21, 22 years old, he's behind you trying to take your spot. So you're always put in a stressful situation.
A lot of people work in industries where, they get a job for 20 years, they collect a retirement. They don't understand, it's a lot different for NFL players. I mean, you had the perfect storybook coming up. You were one of the top players in the state of Florida. You went and played Division I football. You were one of the people that are actually lucky enough to get drafted, recruited, and have a successful NFL career. But that was only 7 years. I mean, You have to do a lot. And the spotlight's on you, all the attention. And then, one day it's all gone.
Yeah, hey, you're not lying. The NFL stands for not for long.
That's right.
It stands for not for long, and you have to take advantage of the opportunities while you're there. because the average lifespan of an NFL football player is 2.5 years.
Right.
You know,
If you're injured in the NFL, what is the way traditionally that they want you to treat this daily chronic pain usually that people have from blowing out their knees?
And before he answers that question, chronic pain, why don't you tell us a little bit about the kind of pain we're talking about? This is not your average arthritis in the hands.
No, it's not your average pain, because the things that you go through is like car crashes every day. You know, you're crashing to big grown men that's 280, 300 pounds, and you're doing that all day, every day, consistently. So you're putting your body through so much stress just to play the game that you love and feed your family. So, you're being forced to take the pharmaceuticals just to stay on the field. And if you don't take the pharmaceuticals, sometimes you can't get well. And if you don't, guess what? Somebody else going to take your spot.
What kind of prescriptions are the doctors giving out in the locker room?
It's those Vicodins. Sometimes it's the generic kind, but if you have a good surgery, they'll give you. I know I tore my Achilles, and they gave me morphine pills.
Oh, wow.
That's traditionally what they give people when they're dying in the hospital bed.
Yeah,
you have your time limit on your life.
Yeah, they gave me a unlimited prescription of them.
Now, are you having to take more than an average person because of your size? Like most football players, you guys are giants. So do you have to, is it a much higher dosage?
He just looks big compared to you.
No,
Is that what it is?
I'm not that big. You're just smaller than me. That's it.
I feel so small right now, but safe. I do feel safe.
Oh yeah, you're in good hands. But the thing is, the pharmaceuticals, we don't want to go that route. But that's why you see a lot of players at the end of their careers, they're stuck on those pharmaceuticals because those are the things that they depended on to get by.
Now, let me ask you this. In the locker room, is there an awareness of how dangerous those pharmaceutical drugs are? Or are they constantly telling you just take them, they're fine, it's good for you?
Yeah, I mean, hell yeah, they tell you. I mean, it's awareness. Guys are really on it, but
Right.
the thing is, it's like, okay, what do? You're trying to feed your family.
Right.
And it's like, the NFL can be accursed and it could be a blessing at the same time, and I tell everyone, if it wasn't for football, I wouldn't have seen part of the world that I have. It took me places, helped me take my friends and my family places. And, but at the same time, you lose yourself in it because you're so caught up and wrapped up in your sport to where you're not even paying attention to, who you really are. So now after the game is finished, you don't have an identity and you don't know who you are. So now you're just lost and you're searching.
You become part of that persona, that on-field persona?
Yeah, you do. And I just, I was fortunate enough to be a guy that wasn't a pharmaceutical guy. I was always like a natural guy, and I would go in and see some of the guys, the older guys, going in and doing all these rubs and pouring all this protein. And I'm like, man, what are y'all doing all this crap for, man? Just go out and play football. But, I didn't understand at that time of those older guys, and they was trying to take care of their bodies. Because, if you don't take care of your body, it's not going to take care of you.
Are there members of the NFL, let's say, were there, I don't want to get anyone in trouble, that are using cannabis but have to keep it hidden but try to portray that they're on the Vikes or whatever?
Oh yeah, man. We trust me. This is not even about telling, but it's everybody knows. Yeah, we do. It's ways around it, and there's I know it was you got tested one time a year, and then if you could beat the test that one time a year, hell, you could smoke all year. Because I know as soon as after practice was over, I had a blunt rolled in my ashtray, ready to smoke a blunt as soon as I left. Because I had to de-stress and I had to slow, my thinking down because I've been at a high, intensity all day long. So I want to process things faster.
Do you feel like maybe they know that a lot of the players are using cannabis, but they just try to sweep it under the rug? Like, hey, don't get caught on the drug test and it's okay with us, kind of a thing?
Oh, yeah. It's a thing of you're a grown man. You know what to do. We know where we're getting some of our players. We're getting some of our players out of these, these hood areas, and you think that, everybody's smoking now. Everybody's taking cannabis. So, it's not a thing of them knowing, but it's a thing of, just letting it slide and letting you hang your own self.
Now, with all the awareness of CTE and the movies that have come out and all the talking about the issue that's current, and for our listeners that don't know, could you tell us what CTE is?
CTE, it's a degenerative brain disease,
Okay,
where it eats away at your brain slowly but surely. And if you don't get the correct treatment, you'll see your life slip away. Like one of my good friends, Steve Gleason. I played with Steve Gleason for 5 years. I mean, I ran down on kickoff team and celebrated with him, many years. And to see him in a position where he can't even speak or he can't even, help himself, it just really brings tears to my eyes, and it just really further, pushes me into, what I'm doing to help other guys so they don't go through the things that we went through.
And would you say that that's created more awareness in the current NFL locker room where people are using alternative treatments? Or
oh yeah, it's you have awareness now, and especially with Eugene Monroe coming out, being the first player, coming out about cannabis. He's invested in several states in cannabis as well, and
hey, Ricky Williams' gym up in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys are coming together, and we're making a stand because we do not want to see our fellow brothers, go through the same things that we did, and to this day you can tell when you're watching, former players that played the game, they have these real weird limps, they can't even walk. And that's the thing, is because those guys was using all those pharmaceuticals and it really messed them up. And now they got liver problems and, on top of all kind of other problems. So, we're really trying to push this thing to where we can get cannabis inside professional sports.
Is there anything in place in the NFL for players that are like they end up getting injured where it, debilitates their life after the NFL? Is there any kind of a nest or safety program they have, financial for them, or?
Well, I'll tell everybody. 5 years after you're out of the league, your insurance lapses. So you rarely go to the doctor when you're playing because of you're with the team doctors. They're with you 24/7. So you don't really go to the hospital or the doctor because they come to the facility. It's not only until your 4th or 5th year out till you start feeling all the symptoms of being a former athlete. So that's why they set it up for your insurance to lapse. If I wouldn't have took advantage of my insurance, it was in the last year of my insurance, so it'll lapsed on me. And thank God that the program I went to I was supposed to be there for 30 days, and I ended up staying for 8.5 months because I wanted to learn more about myself. I was, it was like I was back in school, and my insurance paid $90,000 of that. And if I didn't have my insurance, I probably wouldn't be sitting here in front of you right now.
Right. Are the team doctors actually responsive to, like kind of a holistic treatment plan for you guys, or do they really just focus on what I often hear on Sports Center is the best ability of all availability? They just trying to get you back out on the field, or are they really trying to take care of you?
Shot to the knee.
The thing is, you're an investment. Right. So they want to try to get their investment back on the field. Why did you think all the rules changed for the quarterbacks? Right. Because the thing is, if quarterbacks get knocked out of the game, then nobody wants to watch the football game. And it's all about dollars. So therefore, if a star player is hurt and injured, they're going to do whatever they have to do to get that player back on the field because he's costing them money. So if you got to take shots in the butt to get ready to go, that's what you got to do. I mean, I feel a pain every time on the top of my butt cheek, because that's where you took a Toradol shot. Right. Mm-hmm. So, you took that before every game, and then,
Did you just say before every game?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
I tell you this, just think about it. When you see the national anthem and you see players, when they show players, looking and the national anthem is going, you see a lot of emotions. So when you see those emotions, that means those narcotics are, altering your emotions, so you're so up and down.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We got to get to a commercial. When we come back, Mr. Boo Williams is going to give a live hit to Chris Glue right here in the studio. Maybe if we could talk him into it. It's going to be awesome. Stay tuned. You're watching Speakeasy, the live show. We'll be right back after these messages.
And welcome back to the Speakeasy show. We're back with Boo Williams.
Hey, man, you got to drag the boo.
You
got to drag
let me do
out.
that again. We're back with Boo Williams.
There it is. That's it right there. There you got it.
Boo Williams.
Yeah. Hey, because, I've been having that name ever since I was born. My aunt gave me that name. And she told me, growing up, all I used to like to do was scare people. And
it's still working. It's still working.
Yeah. And trust me, it was high school teammates, elementary. I was always scaring people, jumping out of closets and doing all kind of crazy shit. So, excuse me, sorry, I can't say it on the air, but I was doing all kind of crazy stuff. And man, it just resonates with my personality and who I am. And I tell my aunt, to this day, thank you for giving me my name because it really fits me.
All right, I love it.
So, Boo, you've used your position of NFL now that you're retired out of NFL, and now you have this new company.
Yeah.
Please tell us about that.
Well, my new company is Black Ghost Enterprises. Is where
boo.
Boo, yeah. You see,
had to fit the theme.
Yes, you see, and really, it's a brand that's really going to help change not only change a culture, but going to help change the world.
It's a pretty bold statement.
That's a lot of them.
yeah, because the things that we stand for and the energy that we attract, it's contagious.
What is it? I want one. I don't know what it is, but I really want one.
Listen, the it is just having a sense of well-being, knowing about yourself, who you are, and being educated on certain events and certain things so you can help save your life and save others' lives.
Amen.
And how does cannabis weave into the fabric of that mission statement?
Well, it's kind of funny how cannabis got into it because it all started with me opening up a athletes wellness center after the things that I went through. And I started off with 5 guys the first month, and then by the third month, we were at 15 guys per month.
Wow.
We were rotating guys out every other week, 5 guys out, 5 guys in. So we were keeping guys on a 30-day period, and it was a transitioning program. We helped guys with all their NFL concussion testing. We helped them get their life back on track, taxes in order and such. So, and then on the cannabis side, all the athletes that were coming in were guys that were medicating. And we found out that they were more, calm, when they were medicating to where when they were taking their pharmaceuticals. So we got them off the pharmaceuticals and started, allowing them to reach out and go other alternative routes, and we seen that was more it was better for them than the pharmaceuticals. And trust me, when you got a house full of 15 big angry football players, you got to have some type of
cannabis control.
My
Cannabis
point
control.
Exactly.
I'm going to say 14 cameras and a contract with MTV.
And that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for to let everyone know what goes on inside of an athlete's wellness center, to see the things that these families are going through, the things that these players are going through. So you just don't say, hey, that's the guy that I was rooting for 5 years ago. Now you're looking at him at 6 or 7 years ago, and you should still be rooting for him.
That's right.
And we should hope that our union help us out on some things, but we got a long way to go.
Well, that's important that people embrace the reality and the totality of the sport, not just the part where they see out in the field and the guys scoring touchdowns and celebrating. There is an afterlife.
Yeah, it is. And we have to retrain our way of thinking. And what I say is the part of the brain that most contact sports and football players are damaging is the prefrontal cortex, and that controls rational thinking and impulse control. Right. So when you look at the domestic abuse charges on certain sports, you got football, you got hockey, and you got soccer. These are contact sports, and it's hard to shut that part of the brain off when you're off the field to say, hey, now let me stop and let me think about what I'm doing when I'm used to just reacting. And your sport has trained you to do that 11 out of the 12 months out of a year.
Right.
And is this program available to professional athletes outside of the NFL, like the hockey and the soccer players?
Yes. We were available to all sports. I recently closed it in October, and we're relocating in Utah, and we're building a new athletes resort out of hemp. And we set to start building out sometime in January of next year.
That's great. Let me ask you, how did you develop these CBD lines and different things like vape pens and tinctures that you've come up with?
Man, it's all about me just wanting to do more. I have people that say, man, you got so much stuff going on. And I think about no, I don't. because I think about if I don't have this much going on, then I feel like I'm bored. And I tell everyone that I gave up my rights and my rights to have all of my benefits so other players could have theirs. Because if I was accepting all of my benefits, then I couldn't help these guys. And I have to sit back and collect the check myself, and I couldn't be in a position to help them. So I just turned my benefits down so I can help them get theirs.
Do you have anybody working like against you? Are there like coaches or some kind of Illuminati in NFL? That's
Man, the NFL, they hated it. They hated it. Trust me. They put out a fraud alert on us.
Oh, wow.
They didn't like what we were doing. We would go to the NFL conventions, and we would set up in the lobby, and we would be there for 2 days before the convention starts. And you got all these former players coming in and out through the lobby, and they see us, and we talk about our program, and I would attend all of the workshops, and I would tell my story and tell what we do for athletes, and guys would just funnel downstairs. And after a while, the NFL would hate what we were doing and told us we had to stop. And but I didn't stop, because the thing is, you're not helping us, so somebody else has to.
Mm-hmm. Perseverance, man. And you know what? You said you got all these things going on, and one of the things I noticed in your resume I wanted you to talk about was the 82 Chances to Life Foundation.
Man, the 82 Chances to Life Foundation, it really caters to the hearing impaired and underprivileged families. And I started that a long time ago in New Orleans because of the poverty problem that they have in New Orleans, and I just tried to use the platform that I was given to try to help give back to that city. We all know that one of my great teammates, Will Smith, he was murdered, and that city is a real dangerous city, and I just tried to use the talents that I had to try to shine some light on that city. And now that I'm here, I'm bringing it to California to help the hearing impaired and underprivileged families.
That's great. See, you are a man of many hats.
Oh yeah. I've been always the youngest one out of all my friends, but I've always been the one that was the leader out of the pack. When we went to go play basketball, we following me. When we went to go WWF wrestling, they following me. And it wasn't until I went through what I went through in 2011 until my doctors and my therapists took me back through some childhood stuff and made me realize that I've always had this gift to lead, inspire, and give hope. So, I just, took advantage of that gift that I have, and I'm just trying to take it as far as I can go.
When you had your incident, the deep depression and the life attempt, is that something that was, like I just thought of it spontaneously, or was it something that the depression just kind of built up and you keep it hidden?
Yeah, it was building up, man. It was like I had a sports performance gym, but it just wasn't doing it for me. I was like, I got more talent than just sitting up in a gym waiting on people to come in. And I was going through some troubles at home, and everything just started spiraling. And it was one day I just left home and I just went walking. And when I really realized where I was, homeless people was picking me up off the railroad tracks. And they were calling my name, and it's weird because when I open my eyes, I'm thinking that I'm in heaven already because I hear the train coming, and next thing you know,
homeless angels.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And when they pulled me up and they was talking to me, and I remember they gave me water, and they told me that the clothes that they were wearing, that I gave them to them because I was always at the mission downtown in New Orleans. I was always giving out clothes because I always kept clothes in my trunk. And I think that was just God's way of telling me that He wasn't finished.
Right.
There's definitely a reason they kept you around.
Yeah.
Well, and they say you always find your golden road when you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
That's when everything clears up, clarity opens, and then your purpose comes out. And now you're a spokesperson for so many others who, like when you were going through it, they didn't have anybody to say, hey, you're not alone,
Yeah.
So I mean, you're doing such a great thing for people who are our heroes that when we look at them, we never expect anything to be wrong with them other than they're living the life and helping us win money in the casinos.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, you can look at professional athletes and be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with them because you look at the shape and the size and the build. Well, that ain't going nowhere. I mean, God built us like this on purpose. That's not going anywhere. But you got to look deeper. You got to look more inside of really, what we're going through. And our main thing is don't sympathize with me. Empathize with me.
Boo, we're almost up on a break here, and I just wanted to mention a few things before we lose you here. He's got a CBD line called Boo Berry Cares. He also delivers CBD products with stuffed Boo Bear logo animals to patients. He has a THC line, which is called Black Ghost, in which includes vape pens, which are strain specific. He has topicals, capsules. I mean, this guy does everything. He's got media opportunities he's doing. He does speaking appearances. He's been a host at the 420 games, the Cannabis Cup, industry meetups, expos. He's all over the place, and he still has time to come join little old us over here at the Speakeasy show.
Man, y'all ain't little, man. And not to mention that I have 4 babies too, man.
My.
Oh yeah, I got 4 kids, man. So I'm really doing a lot of this too for my kids, man, because I want to be able to put my kids in a position where if they were any way if they was getting sick of any type, I would have medicine to medicate them.
Before the break, Boo, if people want to get a hold of you and somebody wants to reach out to you personally, is there a way they can do that?
Man, you can trust me. You can always reach me. I'm a media. You can reach me anytime. You can touch out and reach me like AT&T, brother. I promise.
Feels like you're in the next room.
I know.
Is there a website or anything?
Oh man, listen. The easiest way I tell people, man, just Google Boo Williams and everything under Boo Williams will come up.
There it is.
Well, everybody, thank you very much.
That's Boo.
Give it up for Boo Williams, live on the Speakeasy Live Show. We're going to be back right after these messages from our sponsors, so stay tuned. We're coming up next with the news, and we still got Bobby Black in the building. We'll be back after these messages.
And welcome back to the Speakeasy Show. It's time for the news with Benji Cooper.
All right, well, an initiative to legalize the recreational use of cannabis for adults 21 and older has been officially placed on the November ballot in the state of Maine. The initiative, known as Question 1, will ask voters, do you want to allow the possession and use of marijuana under state law by persons who are at least 21 years of age, and allow the cultivation, manufacture, distribution, testing, and sale of marijuana and marijuana products subject to state regulation, taxation, and local ordinance. Manager for the Yes on One campaign, David Boyer, says it conveys to voters that the cultivation and sale of marijuana for adult use will be subject to regulation, taxation, and local control. Those themes comprise the core of our initiative and help explain the benefits of ending marijuana prohibition. According to the poll last month, commissioned by the Marijuana Policy Project, 55% of Maine voters support the legalization of cannabis.
Well, that's a great. Maine is all the way over there on the East Coast, so we just need to compress everything in the middle now. We've got California going with the Adult Use of Marijuana Act in November. If we can get everyone in the middle to fall into line, we actually might be doing something here.
We're kind of doing it like a puzzle, filling out the outside first, and then we're going to do the inside.
It works better that way, right?
Why is everybody doing it separately? How come there's not one law to rule them all? Why don't they just say, hey, everybody, marijuana is going to be legal?
We can't edit the Bible.
We're waiting on the
Catholics been doing it for years.
We're waiting on the federal government for that one.
So it has to be under the federal because every state has its own little...
Right. That's why different states have been enacting different medical marijuana laws. You have different recreational laws. Like you said, Alan, we're getting ready to vote on it in November.
Just like alcohol. So just think of it like alcohol.
How are you on Alma? There's a lot of people that are very for Alma. There's a lot of people that are against Alma. If you don't know at home, it's the Adult Use of Marijuana Act where they're trying to recreationalize California. I personally am right down the middle. I was very much a no guy. But I'm hearing new stuff. But you're a professional, like a real professional in this industry, and I'm curious.
All professionals have their own opinions, and they're all about as useful as the next guys. Right. But the reality is that, whatever your opinion is on it, I just tell everybody, educate yourself. Educate yourself about what it says. Go read the content that's out there. And more important than anything, go vote. Because at the end of the day, the lack of participation in the electoral process is really what's led us to where we are at today.
Yeah, you get 80,000 signatures and 32,000 voters.
It's amazing.
That's what killed Redding, California's grow law.
I do believe that at the end of the day, voter apathy is really the number one reason why cannabis has not become legalized sooner.
Right. Cannabis people are lazy voters. That's a fact.
They got out and signed the initiative. They got 600,000. I think that's around double of what they needed.
We're great at signing stuff. I'll sign anything you want at a Walmart, but you want me to get up on my day off and go down on when you tell me with 10 minutes, hey, we're voting today. I'm like, if they don't announce it on Netflix,
can you send me a text reminder?
There's two sides of that discussion too. Is that there's a lot of very intellectual people out there that just don't feel that their vote counts, and they don't feel that participating in the electoral process really has any real effect. So there is the lazy stoner, no doubt, and there's the people that are just completely disconnected from the whole election process, and there's also people out there that are very educated, very well informed, and don't believe in it because of things like the electoral college and all these.
I'm going to find out whatever you're voting for and vote the opposite, so your vote don't count.
There you go. You're going to cancel my vote.
I wasn't even going to vote unless you vote. If
See,
you
there
vote,
it
I'm
is.
voting the opposite.
Now I don't have to vote.
Obama for life. No, I'm just kidding. What else you got in the news there, Benji?
All right. Well, a 60-year-old prostate cancer survivor, Michael Hirsch, spent years of his life working as a programmer and system analyst with Lane County, Oregon, but lost his job with the county after 2 human resource employees reported smelling cannabis on him, and he failed a subsequent drug test. But now arbitrator Jeffrey Jacobs has ruled that the county must not only give Hirsch's job back, but also give him $21,550 in back pay for the almost half of a year he was out of work. Jacobs ruled that the county's drug-free workplace policy doesn't apply to Hirsch because of an exception allowing cannabis use if it's taken under the supervision of a licensed healthcare professional and does not present a safety hazard or otherwise adversely impact an employee's performance. It was noted that Hirsch received a number of positive messages and reviews from management during the time he's worked for the county and had no other formal complaints. His job was to be reinstated immediately.
What state was that in?
That was Oregon.
Oregon, okay. Well, it's interesting because here in the state of California, there's a case that's right on point. It's called the Raging Wire case, and it does stand for the proposition that private employers, not this case, but private employers are allowed to discriminate against cannabis users and say, hey, if you test positive, then you're not allowed to work here.
Right, and a lot of that sometimes depends on hazards at the workplace,
Correct.
What kind of job they're doing there, if it's going to adversely, again, affect them or the health of another employee or their performance. This guy was a systems analyst, which there are hazards there, but not physical dangers generally.
Right, and the only problem with that is that a lot of these people are coming out of the hospital for surgery, and they're still on Vicodin and other prescription painkillers, and they're still going to perform those same high intensity, supercritical jobs.
Exactly.
Where safety is of a primary concern, and yet they could be doped up on Vicodin and Percocet and
is that
morphine.
Is that legally allowable?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of companies don't test for it. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Okay.
that is the problem. And, there's certain jobs, obviously, like being a pilot and certain things where they test for those drugs as well. But a lot of these
I like
jobs,
that you refer to me as I might have been able to be a pilot at some point in my life.
Of course.
I appreciate that.
You can do anything you put your mind to, especially if Boo Williams is behind you.
Right. I'm going NFL. So wait, Chris, if I got fired from a Jack in the Box when I was 17, I was awesome there, but they fired me
Wait.
for
No,
smoking-
Jack in the Box actually requires you to smoke marijuana. That's,
Okay,
I
so
think, part of the
Kentucky
protocol.
Fried Chicken, right?
Okay,
Very
right.
It's on
anti,
the app.
right? Southern. And I got fired, but I had a great job, and it was 17 years later now. Can you sue them for me and we get back pay?
We lost that statute of limitations. Boring, but yeah, you missed your window.
What if I was lying and I actually worked at Jack in the Box 4 years ago?
Now we're getting
Still
somewhere.
works at Jack in the
Things
Box.
weren't going
Let's
good.
be honest. You're still there.
So true. Yeah. What else you got in the news besides my job history?
Well, the First Church, Cannabis Church of Logic and Reason opened its doors for the first time in Lansing, Michigan on Sunday, with about 50 people in attendance for the first service and following potluck. Leader of the church, 34-year-old minister Jeremy Hall, encouraged people from all beliefs, medical, cannabis users, and non-users alike to attend. He says, "What I'm hoping to accomplish in the long run is to provide a place where people can be spiritual but also feel safe to take any of their medication. If they also feel cannabis is part of their spirituality, they can combine the two in a safe environment." In the collection plate, attendees were asked to donate any extra cannabis they might have for others in need or anyone who brought dishes to the potluck. It was requested that they be clearly marked if they were medicated. Minister Hall believes the church is the first of its kind in the state, and according to their Facebook page, leaves religious theology up to the individual and aims to uplift members of the community through personal moral growth and philosophical understanding.
That sounds like crap. That sounds like crap. That's like I make a church for PlayStation players because I want to play PlayStation all day. Come on down. You're going to Warcraft out with us. And because what's to stop somebody? I mean, if you're a real church, if the Catholics or somebody went, we're going to smoke marijuana now, I'd be like, yeah, let's go to church. But to just create your own church, I feel like you're kind of taking away the validity of somebody's spirituality just for an excuse for marijuana.
I'm actually going to take an opposing view on this topic because he had me right away when he said it's the first church of logic and reason. I'm in. I'm fully committed.
That's like breakfast burrito. The words don't go together. You don't have church and logic and reason because you can't prove. Logic and reason comes with usually physical proof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to talk about Noah's Ark and some of those fun topics.
Unless
with logic
you're bringing
and
the Ark in with you.
Yeah,
it's all a story to me.
But doesn't it get back to the kind of the basics of what church is supposed to be about? A community of people coming together and helping people out.
And the reality is there is a lot of, spirituality in people's pastimes. And some people are so, consumed by the cannabis culture that, their spirituality is intertwined with their cannabis consumption.
What's the age range of the church? I know my church
19
now,
to 21.
Is it 19 to 21? Females only, please? The Church of Glue.
Right. Well, they don't list a minimum age to attend, but you have to be a legal patient to partake of any medication that might
Which
be
is
there.
any age. I know a 2-year-old with a card.
I think one of the requirements is your ability to consume 7 or 8 dab hits, especially when they have a donate.
That's your
your
hierarchy.
extra
That's how you
cannabis.
become the reverend of that church. If you're still standing after the 9th dab, you're in charge of baptisms.
Cardinal Mike, you've been ordained.
I am an ordained minister for the Church of Cannabis in Hawaii.
Lovely.
Yeah, I could marry you two right now.
Oh, hey.
I don't even have to ask.
Perfect timing. We were just talking about
That's how
that.
my wee church works. We just marry people. We don't even ask them. We're just like, you know what? You two are married. I breathe the smoke on you, and then bam, you're for the rest of the life.
It's like knighthood.
It's knighthood.
Yeah.
I feel like we shouldn't be sitting too close to him then, Benji.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
Yeah, we've been married and divorced 3 times since this show started, Chris. I'm just practicing. I'm practicing.
Fair enough.
You're listening and watching the Speakeasy live show, and we're going to be right back. That was your news again with Benji Cooper. We're going to be right back after these few moments from your sponsors, so stay tuned and keep watching.
And welcome back to the Speakeasy Show. I'm your host, Christopher Glue, and I'm with my co-host, Medicinal Mike.
And we are here having a great time educating you guys at home about cannabis and everything about it. Big shout out and thanks to Boo Williams for stopping in with us from the New Orleans Saints, my new favorite team in NFL. And I'll be voting for him to be returning shortly.
Hey, amen.
Anything can happen. Our next
remember
guest,
too, that's boo.
yeah. In comedy, we try not to use that word, but I like it for him because he's intimidating. Our next guest, an equal celebrity, a legend in the community. Anybody who has been a cannabis user at all for the last 20 years knows our next guest. He's the former 20-year senior editor of High Times magazine. He's the star of Blazing with Bobby Black, the inventor of Miss High Times. Anything cool that you liked about High Times came out of this guy's brain. Welcome to the Speakeasy Show. Everybody, big round of applause for Bobby Black. Bobby!
Thanks, guys. Wow, this is it's exciting, man. I'm honored to be. First show. Wow.
How are you enjoying, Bobby? You just moved down from New Jersey?
Yeah. Well, I like to say New York, New Jersey.
New York makes it sound hotter.
I'm from Brooklyn originally, so I'm a New Yorker, But yeah, it's great. Cali's awesome so far.
So how's life after High Times here on the West Coast?
It's pretty good. Still getting settled in. Still getting my footing. But yeah, life is good. The weather's great. My area is great where I'm hanging out in, and got some exciting new prospects in the works. So yeah, I'm loving it.
Just remember the weather.
Yeah, that's the reason to come out here.
Yeah.
So now that you're not with High Times magazine anymore, and you're court gagged and everything, so we're not going to get into details on what happened over there.
The fun stuff.
Right. It's the elves. Never trust the elves. What do you see now? Because you're becoming a voice of your own, whereas before you were kind of blended into a team, but you were still the shining star of that. Everybody knows Bobby Black, Danny Danko when you mention High Times, and now you're out here. Like it's great to have you because I've always heard you were like 9 feet tall, and everywhere he went, he throws pot around.
The legend of Bobby Black.
Right, and here he is with us live in the studio. What's next? What's next for you? What do you do now?
I've got a lot of ideas and a lot of projects I'm going to try to get off the ground. I am first and foremost a writer, so I have some ideas for a book, for a screenplay, for a pilot possibly. I have a bunch of ideas I'm toying around with, and also just looking for cool opportunities. Like something like what you guys got going on. This is pretty sweet. A nice little show, a nice little setup. Something like that. I could see myself doing something.
You're
like that.
currently doing a podcast right now, Blazing with Bobby Black, right?
Yes, sir. I do a audio podcast, audio
Okay.
only, but I started that in January, and it's on Revolver Podcasts Network. So yeah, that's where that was. Right after I left High Times, a good friend of mine from high school reached out to me, and she said, "Hey, I'm working with this new company, and they're launching a new network. Would you like a podcast?" And I said, "Well, I ain't got nothing else going on, so yeah, let's do a podcast." So yeah, it's been going great. I've had a lot of great guests on. I had Tommy Chong for my 420 episode. I had Doug Benson. I've had, this is where all the good networking and friends and connections from all over the years come into play, and hopefully I can take that into the new medium and into the future.
And well, you're not new with radio at all. You've been actually, a lot of us like to tout. We're the first one for cannabis out in radio on FM or this or that. But you were on Sirius XM for like 4 years before anybody even, had the idea to try to do any kind of cannabis thing. You were already there. You kind of put that footprint down for us to follow.
Yeah, well, my show was I did talk, but it was more of a music show. I was on, right before they merged with XM, I was on Sirius Satellite Radio, Heart Attack, the metal channel. And my good friend Jose Mangan, who's like a big wig over there, he hooked me up with a show. And I had a show called Contact High where I played stoner rock, stoner metal. And I talked about weed and talked about High Times in between the songs and turned people on to a lot of cool underground rock that they would never hear on the radio otherwise.
Well, tell us about the format of Blazing. What's that show all about? Let me guess, Blazing.
With Bobby Black.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty simple. It's in its formative stages still. I'm still working. Moving cross country takes a lot out of you, takes a lot of your time, getting prepped, closing, tying up all the loose ends, moving cross country, and then setting up here. So it's still pretty rudimentary. I'm working on, like I said, developing some new concepts with it, new segments and stuff. But basically, each week I have a different guest on, a different special guest, and we discussed whatever topic is germane to that guest. I've had I had this guy Evan Nissen on, who's a big activist, and he's working with the Whoopi and Maya company. He's like the COO of that company, and he was the guy on Good Morning America who asked Hillary Clinton the pot question. He just one example. I like to switch it up each week. I have sometimes entertainers, sometimes activists, sometimes cannabis executives.
Excellent. So let me ask you this. Where's the direction of the show going? Are you going to try and keep this thing alive, or are you going to try and move it over to a TV platform? What's your long-term vision?
Call it Times High.
I'd definitely like to see it jump to a little bit broader audience. Podcasts are great, and I'm working on building that audience up, but I'd love to do something a little more live, a little more video, in visual.
Can't you just call Sirius and be like, "Hey, I need my job back. I got some cool things going."
I would love to go back to Sirius if that was on the table, but I guess when I was there was a particular vice president or somebody there that didn't like that.
And they fired him for the record.
I was doing a pot-related show or something, and after 4 years, I had a great following. I had a really good feedback and a great following, but he wasn't feeling it, I guess. So.
And you can be certain in 4 years from now, there'll be 20 shows on Sirius with a specific cannabis platform.
And they have terminated that guy. I know that for a fact. I won't even mention his name, but he is no
really?
longer with the company.
Wow. Well, Sirius, you got my number? Well, Jose has it. Give me a call.
It's time to bring
available.
Bobby home.
I'm ready to go.
Time to bring Bobby home.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Well, as a person who grew up in Ohio, and when I was young, there really wasn't a lot of media outlets that covered the marijuana industry. And High Times really was it for us. And I remember everybody was afraid to go out and get a High Times subscription. They thought they were going to be on the government blacklist. How many times have you heard that?
Oh, yeah. That's one of we had this thing at High Times, which was really funny. We were like the top 5 questions that people ask you when they find out you work at High Times. And one of them was that. One of them was, how did you get your job at High Times? One of them was, how do I get a job at High Times?
Right.
And do you guys just sit around and smoke pot all day? Was one of them always, So yeah, we had
The answer to that is yes, I hope. Right?
Yes,
Okay.
it used to be yes.
Any
I
job.
can't vouch for what goes on there now, but we had so much fun. Back in the day at High Times, I started in 1994. 21 years I worked there. And it was I wouldn't trade a minute of it for anything. It was the most amazing experience. I got to meet and interview and blaze with so many amazing people, celebrities, movie stars, musicians, you name it. I mean, Harold and Kumar, Cheech and Chong, you name the stoner, Jason Mewes. I mean, all of it. Everybody.
Can't believe you just brought up Harold and Kumar over Cheech and Chong.
I didn't say over.
Well, first.
They actually got mentioned in the same sentence,
Right,
so
right.
that's impressive. Go Harold and Kumar.
Right, they're doing great for their career right now.
That's right.
I like Harold and Kumar. I like the movies. I think they're good.
So, Bobby, what about starting up your own magazine? I'm sure that's a big question on everybody's mind. You, at least to me, and I know a lot of others, were the heart of High Times, and now you're kind of like this free agent running around, and everybody's just dying to know what's going to come out of you. And I know they're looking like, hey, you're the writer. Give me my book back.
The thing with magazines is, first of all, it's very hard to compete in this day and age. High Times has obviously the history and the brand recognition that I don't think anybody's really going to be able to compete with at this point. And then you have a bunch of newer magazines and newer media outlets that are doing a great job. But there's just so much competition now, and I don't think there's a lot of money in print magazines, unfortunately, anymore. That most of the I know this from experience working in the magazine industry. Many magazines have shut down. Distribution channels have shut down. People just don't buy print magazines the way they used to. It's all multimedia now. It's all digital, and that's where the future is. And that's where I want to be. I want to be on your computer, on your streaming, whatever, that's where I want to be. I want to be the cannabis dude on your little screen or your big screen.
The cannabis dude. I love it.
What's your opinion, Bobby? They just had a recent incident in the last High Times in San Francisco where four young men, Team Davenport actually, went from winning 2 awards on the stage and were arrested within about a half an hour of leaving the event simultaneously. And it's saying that they had undercover police running all over the medication section of the High Times event. How do you feel about that? And is that something you got to worry about at all marijuana events? Like, hey, there's cops there?
I don't know anything about that specific event, to be honest. I haven't been keeping totally up to date with everything High Times has got going on. I've been more focused on trying to get my own stuff launched. But that is the case. I mean, even back in the day when the only cannabis cups that were done were in Amsterdam, which is how it was for a long time, police we always knew that there was, the feds used to send cops to Amsterdam to come to scope out and see, So there's no avoiding that. There's always going to be undercover cops. There's always going to be people, you just have to be cautious and careful. I mean, I don't know about that incident, but I'd be curious to learn more about it.
Well, I got a better question here. How about, was it true that the old school days that the law enforcement actually penetrated High Times, it had undercover officers working inside the building?
No.
Okay.
No.
Old technology, the big microphone wire sticking out.
There's been so many crazy rumors about High Times over the years, none of which is really true, most of which is not true.
Did they ever pay you in bud? Like, did you ever get marijuana as payment? Like, we're going to give you 30% cash?
Just tell us yes. Just tell us yes.
Make it true.
No, but we did used to have something called editorial stash, which is when
it's like petty cash.
The editor, exactly, like petty nugs, like the editor would have a stash of nugs that was for the staff, and if you needed to smoke, he would hook you up and get you high. But that was a long time ago. I don't know what goes on there now.
It's all stale. It's the exact same weed that was in there from 20 years ago. Old roaches and stuff that a young 18-year-old Danny Danko left behind.
Oh, yeah.
So were you ever on the Bong Hitters softball team?
No, you know what? I'm not a sports guy. I'm really not into sports very much, but I will say this about your previous guest. I was really inspired by, I didn't know who he was before I came in, but you know what? I applaud him for all the amazing things he's doing and bringing attention. That's what activism is about. It's about really using whatever position you're given and whatever position you have to speak out about the things that matter to you and to try to help people. And I applaud him. And, I've tried to use my position at High Times over the years to try to bring attention to things. One of the issues that has been very dear to my heart that I brought a lot of attention to, I think, when I was with High Times was veterans in medical marijuana. I moderated all the veteran panels at all the Cannabis Cup events. And I wrote a big feature or two about veterans and how they were being denied access to their pain medications from the VA because they were using medical cannabis. And it's a very important issue, and it needs to be addressed. Just like the athletes, it's an under talked about issue. And I think we need to, there's a lot of solid evidence that post-traumatic stress disorder, that cannabis is the best treatment for it. And we really need to allow veterans to use it for PTSD for sure.
What a great concept for your new media platform. You can just focus on all these extra issues that people really aren't targeting or talking about.
Yeah. Well, you know, people that sacrifice so much, I don't think letting them smoke a joint to be able to sleep at night is such a terrible thing, you know?
Amen to that.
Bobby, how can people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you and, you know, get to know the hero himself? How do they reach you?
Hero, I don't know about hero.
The legend of Bobby Black.
The myth.
The stoner. I'm on all the social media. I just created a Snapchat account because I was told I have to. Because
you hear that, ladies?
All the kids are doing it, I guess. So I have to try to start figuring that one out. But I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on, you know, YouTube, and I'm on all those good things. You can check out my show on my Facebook page, facebook.com/blazingwithbb, and just find me. I'm there. I'm easy to find.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Everybody, please give a big round of applause to Cannalebrity, Mr. Bobby Black. And keep that going, too, for Mr. Boo Williams, former New Orleans Saint. Very important that all these people that are our Cannalebrities, our heroes, come out and speak. So if you're out there and you're in a niche industry and you think that cannabis, or you know that cannabis is helping you, but it's being restricted out, it doesn't take nothing to get out there and, you know, teach one person or speak out, and you're helping a lot more people than just yourself.
Amen.
And thank you again to our sponsor, CBD, Living Water and Super Clinic. Thank you for having us.
And thank you, everybody in the studio audience. We do appreciate you guys for coming in. Give yourselves a round of applause. This has been the very, very first episode of many, many, many Speakeasy, the live show. Big shout out and thanks to Speakeasy 710. If you're not smoking and vaping with that, then you're vaping on garbage. So make sure you check us out on Instagram. That's Speakeasy Live Show on Instagram. Hashtag something cool. We all want to hear from you. And if you ever have any questions, Chris Glue is the #1 attorney in cannabis in the entire world. And he's happy to help you out. He can't give you legal advice legally, but he can give you hypothetical answers to hypothetical questions.
All day.
All day long. So I'm Medicinal Mike. This here is Mr. Chris Glue, JD. Big thanks again to Mr. Bobby Black, Boo Williams, and all the live audience out there. We want to see you guys every single day. Big shout out to our house band, the Cartoon Cowboys. They're going to play us out. Keep on listening, and make sure you check out all their CDs, Cartoon Cowboys.